YouTube as we are here at the Watkins Glen International Circuit in Watkins Glen, New York for round 6 of the 2021 Season 2 Flux Motorsport IndyCar Championship. I am your host, as always, Carlin Hicks. And here in round 6 of 8, the Flux American Tour swinging here to the world-famous Watkins Glen International Circuit. This weekend we had a fantastic American Sports Car Championship race. Last night here on the Grand Prix circuit, but we will be running the short course here for the IndyCars. I said before, I am your host, Carlin Hicks, here tonight, and we are excited to bring you a fantastic race. Let me pull up my hook up to the YouTube broadcast as the 20-minute qualifying session just kicking off here at the legendary Watkins Glen, of course, the longtime home of the U.S. Grand Prix during the 1960s and 70s. One of the fastest, most iconic circuits in the world, or as our friend Daz likes to say, one of the most European tracks you will ever see in North America. But we've got us what has just been a terrific season in the IndyCars, 5 rounds of 8 in the books. As we are here for week 6, we're going to give you a little rundown on that, update you on last night's American Sports Car Championship race here during the qualifying session. As it looks like we've got some cars having a little bit of trouble there in inspection. And it looks like the debutante cracked piston made his way in. Let's hope he gets sorted out as well. One of the interesting facts here is that we've seen It's Your Boy Squash, the Daytona winner, and came in the current points leader, not in the race this weekend. And in fact, I believe he's withdrawn to the reserve list for the rest of the season. So that throws the championship open even more. And that is why we will put the car on the second place car in the points, and that is Taijo. Taijo has had himself a terrific season, has not won yet this season in the IndyCars, but he has 2 podium finishes. One of the most interesting things about the championship to this point is through 5 rounds, no one driver has more than 2 podiums. It has been a wide open season, and I think the fragility of the cars has to do with that, most certainly, but it's definitely been that kind of season here in IndyCar. Some guys have been tearing it up and some guys haven't. The short circuit here is going to have extremely quick laps. As you can see, we're going to be in the 53 to 55 second range. That will, of course, taper off during race trim. I'll give you a little more on that as we talk later on about the technical specs on the IndyCars. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and do that right now as we're letting Taijo take us around the track here. The IndyCars are, of course, basically a formula car. However, they are what are commonly known as a spec series. It uses a Dallara chassis. As you see, Taijo losing it there in the bus stop pretty bad. Has a Dallara chassis. Comes in a road course and oval circuit racing kit. 2 different aerodynamic kits that the guys choose from. Obviously, they're in the road course circuit, road course aerodynamic kit for today's race. However, they share the chassis. They do have 2 separate engine packages, Chevy and Honda, that they can then use in that Dallara chassis. They are spec'd to the same horsepower and torque, so it's relatively equal, but does make for a little bit of corporate competition, which is never a bad thing in motorsports. Now, the interesting thing about the cars, they do have more horsepower in the range of 50 to 75 horsepower because they get more turbo boost during qualifying. The turbo boost will be turned down during the race. However, it'll be turned down during the race. However, it will then allow the 10 push to pass. Now, those of you, especially our European viewers, not familiar with push to pass, it is very distinct from the familiar KERS system of many European Formula cars and Formula One, in that it is basically just an opening up of the turbo, giving you that extra horsepower that's come off in race trim to make the engine last, and you have 10 pushes to pass to use for the entire race. It'll give you, I believe, a 10-second burst of the extra horsepower. And it is extremely vital and extremely important here really to talk about, because that is really one of the main ways to get passes done. Guys will use it right at the start of the race to try to gain position, but then you better save some in the bank for when you're racing for position, and we will keep you abreast of that through the race, how guys are looking in terms of their push to pass. But let's go ahead and give the rundown as the first few minutes of qualifying are tapering out. All right, folks. I can lose it. All right, so as I said, with the current points leader, it's your boy Squash withdrawing his entry and on the reserve list. It really throws the championship wide open. The second place driver sitting on 120 points, 2 podiums on the season, as I said, is Taijo in the number 18 Honda. He has been working that Honda since last season in this series. And surprisingly does not have a win yet this season. A bit of a surprise. I'm gonna do a quick All right, folks, my apologies, little audio trouble here. Taijo, as I said, 2 podiums on the season, has yet to pick up his first IndyCar victory, but with 3 rounds to go, he is looking very, very solid in the points, 120, but that is just 2 points ahead of the reigning IndyCar champion, and that is OGR Cat Guy in number 61, Pure Tech Dallara Chevy. Cat Guy season yet to see a win. He was dominant in 2021 season 1, winning 4 races last season on his way to the championship, but this season yet to get in victory circle. He does have 2 podium finishes, but Cat Guy has definitely not been quite as on as he was last season. He's been caught up in a few incidents, I know that. Many of you watching the broadcast will recognize that, but we know he's a longtime veteran in these cars and a very competent driver. It's particularly at depth if he winds up starting in mid-pack, of being able to move up and get a little extra out of the car. That'll move us on to the now 4th place driver in the points, effectively 3rd as they're running, and that is the Flux veteran McToasty in the number 10 NTT Data Chevrolet. McToasty who won, I believe he won this race last season, if I'm not incorrect. That is correct. McToasty was your winner here last season. That was his first and so far only, or first of 2, I should say, IndyCar victories. He also won at Long Beach earlier this season, but he opened up his account for the IndyCar Championship last season right here. He comes in here as the defending champion of this race, and will definitely be looking to compete up front. McToasty is very much in the championship hunt, currently sitting on 4th, 93 points. He is 27 back from Taijo, and that is very, very doable here over the last few rounds if he can get on it. Back in 5th place in the points, the Australian veteran driver, that is Muttley in the number 22 Menard Chevrolet. Muttley has just had a season of grinding it out, sitting on 78 points. He does not have a podium this season, but he's been consistently up and near the top 5, and as a result, he's sitting 5th in the points, although at 42 points back, definitely not out of it himself. 6th place in the points is Survivor in the number 7 Doom Honda. Survivor as well has yet to put up a podium this season, but has been consistently finishing the races, and as I said, sitting 6th in the points. 7th in the points in the All right, apologies, viewers, having some audio trouble here during qualifying. We took you to the top 5 so far. Sixth was best gamer. Sixth best gamer. 7th is Haynes' dad. He was a rookie coming in this season, an Australian driver, and he had himself a coming out party with his victory at Willow Springs for his first career IndyCar win in Flux Motorsport, and he has shown some definite pace. He has not had the fortune over the last few weeks that he would have liked. Hence, and I believe he also missed an entry, so he's sitting 7th in points, but still very much in range with some good finishes. Couple of podiums here over the last few weeks would definitely put him in range to get into the top 5 of the championship by the end of the season. Coming in 8th is, I believe that's Mark C. Let me find him. Is he on here? I believe that's our guy. Yep. Mark sitting in 8th on 52 points. Sitting in the pits now. He's followed closely in 9th in the championship by another longtime veteran, S2N Remy. Dutch driver, longtime veteran of these cars. He had a terrific run at Long Beach, was the runner-up at Long Beach for his first career Flux IndyCar podium. But he is definitely sorting that car out, currently sitting 9th on the charts and 10th in the points, and currently sitting up top of the time charts and not out on the track is Bruce Law. Bruce Law, the Flux European Tour veteran, who has had some spectacular runs and, of course, 2 wins. He won at Laguna Seca last season and then last week at Road America. A fantastic drive a week ago for Bruce Law to give him his 2nd Flux IndyCar championship. He's been running part-time this season, so only sitting 10th in the points, but at the moment, with the fastest lap of the race at 52.922 seconds in the target Chevrolet, as he got a little bump there in the pit lane and took himself back into the pits. Got Joey, of course, working on the social media. Hope to have him as part of the broadcast team soon. We said last season's winner, his first career Flux IndyCar win came here, and that is McToasty. And McToasty was lightning quick last night as well. Did not quite have enough in the rain. It was, of course, on the Grand Prix circuit for the Flux American Sports Car Championship, and they were running in a pretty steady rain, pretty steady light rain throughout most of the race, and definitely affected things. McToasty managed to drive the car home fairly well, but lost a little ground in his chase for the championship. So he is going to have to get back on it. But last season he was just very similar conditions, maybe a lot cooler track in 2021 season 1. As you can see on the top of the screen, we've got 77 degrees ambient temperature and 126 track temperature with the medium cloud cover. That is a little hot. Most tire guys will tell you 90 to 110 degrees, maybe 120, anything above 115, 120, and it's starting to cook the rubber pretty well. And it also affects how much grip you will get as the rubber builds up on the track. As you know, our software here, Project Cars 2, uses the Live Track 2.0, which does a great job of building up the rubber, building up the dirt and stuff on the line. But when the temperature's this hot, it can become a little counterproductive. You might see the track get slick, as opposed to when it's cool and you're looking for rubber to give cold asphalt some grip. So you could see a little bit of that here today, especially because the Indy cars, these cars will definitely have to pit for at least fuel, and obviously will take tires when they pit. These cars put a lot of G-load, a lot of downforce on those tires, and they'll wear them out. They have 2 compounds to choose from, the black sidewall primary or hard compound, and the red sidewall alternates or soft compound. Now, you're probably going to see mostly the alternate compounds as part of our as part of the graphic in front of you. That does not mean that's what those guys are running. It often doesn't show it when they've changed compounds, because sometimes guys will run a mix of compounds. I myself used to put primaries and alternates in various combinations depending on the track and the conditions when I ran IndyCar series for many seasons. And you're definitely probably will see guys do something along those lines in the race. But as we are getting down to the last minute of qualifying, getting ready for the 45-minute feature here at Watkins Glen, it looks like Bruce Law has a comfortable lead. He is 9/10 up. Take a look around a little bit. Destroyer in the number 20 car. He's another one of the newer entries, part-time entry, looking to finish out the season in the IndyCar. I don't believe I have him on the board as having finished a race, so this very well is his IndyCar debut. As a matter of fact, we'll talk about that here in qualifying, or in the introduction of our starting lineup. All right, folks, the starting lineup for the 2021 Season 2 Flux Motorsport IndyCar Championship Round 6 here at Watkins Glen. Grabbing another pole and a bonus point in the number 9 Target Chevrolet is Bruce Law, putting himself out front as a very big favorite. Behind him and starting on the outside of the front row is Mick Toasty in the number 10 NTT Data Chevrolet. Starting third, your Willow Springs winner will be Haynes 1966 Dad in the 83 Ganassi car. Outside of him on row 4, a terrific qualifying run in his, what I believe is his IndyCar debut, Destroyer 50106, is going to start on the outside of row 2. He put in a very solid 54.160 lap. Starting fifth will be the second place in points driver, Taijo, in the, I believe he's the top qualifying Honda. He will be flanked in row 3 by the defending series champion OGR Cat Guy. Starting in 7th is the Aussie veteran Muttley in the 22 Menards car. He will be flanked on the outside of row 4 by Mark C. Starting in 9th will be the Dutchman Remy in the number 2 Verizon Chevrolet. He'll be flanked on the outside with our other debutant here today, also running the 83 car, ironically enough. That will be Cracked Piston. He made his ASC debut last night, stayed here for the weekend. He'll be starting 10th. Starting on the inside of row 6 and 11th is Survivor in the Doom Honda. He'll be flanked on the outside of row 6 by Mad Dog 456 in the DHL Honda. Starting on the inside of row 7 and 13th, another one of our longtime veterans, Ed Yeager, and he is shotgun on the field. And all right, we are just about set to go here at Willow Springs. At Willow Springs, at Watkins Glen, pardon me. These guys have a quick couple minutes, let their teams touch up the cars, sort out the problems, and we are going to have ourselves a fantastic show here at Watkins Glen International. One of my favorite tracks. I talked in the broadcast last night that one of my favorite all-time wins in sim racing was winning an IndyCar championship race here on this very circuit in a driving rainstorm. Definitely one of my proudest moments of being able to hang on to the car better than the rest of the field. I can tell you that much. But we are just about set to get going here. Let me get myself out and into the monitor. 13 cars. As I said, we've seen no one driver post more than 2 podiums this season. It has been absolutely wide open. And as I said, we've got some new guys popping in that are putting together their sponsorship packages late in the season. Destroyer making his debut with a fantastic qualifying run. He qualified 4th here in his Flux Motorsport IndyCar debut, and Cracked Piston qualifying 10th in his IndyCar debut. He, as I aforementioned, raced last night in the ASC, which was won by Taijo. Taijo got the second win of the season for him in the ASC in that Ford GT last night, so he's floating pretty high, starting in 5th here tonight. But Bruce Law has been the talk of the town, 2-time winner in the series, been a part-time driver, but has been lightning quick. Every time he comes out, he takes the pole, comes over, hops the pond, and does just some smooth, excellent classic driving, really, for a in open wheel cars. All right, here we go. 13 cars coming out. We've got Bruce Law and McToasty leading us on the front row. We're going to watch it down in turn 1. 45 minutes of racing. Round 6 at Watkins Glen of the Flux IndyCar Championship is underway. As they come firing down here. Let's see if I can get a look at from the back of the field what some of these guys are seeing. Ed Yeager staying a little far back. Did not get the jump he wanted. I'm going to try to cycle up here through the main pack. You're on board there in our drone cam with Mad Dog as he's chasing Cracked Piston. As these guys look like they're getting single file pretty well here up front. Bruce Law, meanwhile, jumps out to the early lead. I'm going to put on the speedo because we'll be able to tell. You can see he's already been on the push to pass, as has most of these guys probably, with McToasty settling in behind him. Destroyer, the debutante, moving up from 4th to 3rd. Cat Guy shooting up from 6th. Tyjo's back to 5th. Hainsdad back to 6th. Hainsdad back to 5th. So we're definitely seeing some shakeups here in the field on the first lap. Got Daz calling it on the broadcast, saying we're going to see Cat on the podium today. This is the day he helps pull it together, as it looks like Destroyer goes by McToasty. Let's get into the chase cam here on McToasty as he's going to try to get that position back. Destroyer on his debut race. He goes to the outside there. Destroyer concedes it, but I think McToasty took a little too much speed, and he does. He loses it coming out of the bus stop and takes off the front wing. Might have got hit from behind right there. Tough to tell if somebody nicked him, but that is going to be devastating. Very aggressive move, but a clean enough move, but he lost it coming through the bus stop, and that is going to hurt one of our top championship contenders right off the bat on lap 2, as he's going to have to roll that thing around, get it into the pits, and work on a recovery drive. S2N Remy, meanwhile, has already banged that thing up. He is down in pit lane as well. So that gives Bruce and Destroyer a little bit of a gap. I'm not sure if somebody else took some damage. Looks like Mad Dog's coming in for early repairs. Definitely not a scheduled pit stop. But meanwhile, let's get back here on the main pack. Looking at Tyjo in 5th place. He's got Muttley all over his tail as they come through the bus stop. But yeah, a couple of changes right off the bat. Mad Dog McToasty, I believe, is going to be pulling in there pretty soon, but 2 cars already in the pits for repairs here. Very quick laps on the 2.5 mile short circuit at Watkins Glen, up around 55 seconds so far. McToasty just now getting into the pit lane, so he has already lost a lap, and that is going to put him in a very tough position. As I said, he came in here very much in contention for the championship. 4th in the points, I believe, 3rd. Yeah, came in here 3rd in the 4th in the championship, so that is definitely going to hurt his title hopes. Let's get into the cockpit of the 22 Menards car here with Muttley as he is trying to catch up here to Tyjo and Mark in front of him. Mark having a terrific run so far, all the way up to 4th place here in the early shakeup. So he is having his best run so far this season. He's been up in the top 5 a few times this season. As you see Tyjo take it wide, probably have to burp, take a steward's penalty, give a little burp of the throttle. I believe that's what you just saw right there. Probably was given a steward's warning and had to back it off, but it allows Muttley to pass him into 5th place. So Tyjo currently sitting 2nd in the points, but as I said, with the lead car not a full-time driver, effectively the points leader coming in, just 2 points ahead of Cat Guy, so he's going to want to maintain that position right there. Meanwhile, up front, we've got Destroyer in 2nd. He's got Hainsdad now coming up fairly close on him. You can see a 1-minute lap the last time for Destroyer, so he obviously had a little bit of an incident that has pushed him back, but he is looking fantastic here on his Flux IndyCar Championship debut, qualifying in 4th and currently running in 2nd place. see how McToasty managed. He went down 2 laps right there with that repair, so he's going to have to make a recovery drive. As we said, all these guys are going to have to pit at least once just to get fuel. So the fact of the matter is that he may be able to make up quite a few positions, but now he's really got to make a recovery drive and be smart. And it looks like Destroyer's had another problem, as Haynes' dad has gotten by him into second place, but they are all trailing Bruce Law, who is running all by his lonesome out front. And now is as good a time as any to walk us through a lap here. You're coming down the front stretch, heading down towards turn 1, downhill, hard on the brakes here. You want to get to the inside, but not too far down on the curb. Take it up just onto the rumble strip. Perfectly done there by Bruce. Now here comes the S's. Very difficult section. It wants to throw the car to the left and then here to the right. So you have to be ready to burp the throttle. This might be a good spot right here if you were to use the push to pass as you're coming down the back straight into the bus stop chicane. Little burp of the throttle, takes it pretty quick through here. You can see him doing 120 miles an hour. And then into the famous carousel. Now on the short circuit, it's going to stay to the right. Wants to push you out to the left, but you've got to straighten it out. That's going to bring you down into the hard left-hander. I believe it's classified as 11 turns, so that's turn 10. And then turn 11 on to the front stretch, just well under a minute, 55 seconds or so around Watkins Glen International, right there by your leader and pole sitter Bruce Law, as he pulled away a little bit right there. As you can see, some of the lap traffic already coming into play here in the early going. Muttley got by Mark Segan, has moved into 4th place, so a very good run so far for Muttley. Looks like cracked piston has hit the pit, so he might have banged up that Chevrolet of his in his IndyCar debut. Tough luck. He had similar problems last night here in the ASC, but we're glad to see him, and judging from his performance last night, he will be getting that thing back out and going for what he can. All right, looks like Taijo got by Mark into 4th place, and that is because we've seen missing the action at the front. It looks like wings missing. Yes, Destroyer has, unfortunate, pardon the pun, destroyed the front end of that car. Had that thing all the way up to 2nd after that 4th place qualifying, but he has banged that thing up badly and is trying to limp it around to the pit lane as best he can. He's got cars not right on his immediate tail. He should be okay, but without that front wing, that is going to be an extensive repair, and tough luck for him. Looked very good on his Flux IndyCar debut. As I said, qualified 4th, was running up as high as 2nd, but obviously he is going to take a hint. Will go a lap or maybe even 2 down as he makes the repairs here on his number 20 Ed Carpenter Chevrolet. So tough luck for him. We'll see what he can do with the recovery drive as he hits the pit lane. But meanwhile, out front, Bruce Law now working on a 7-second lead, but Haynes' dad pacing with him. 55.8 for Bruce that last time. Let's see what Haynes' dad comes up with here. 55.5, so he is definitely gaining at the moment. But as I said, the tire drop off here in the Indy cars, the amount of G-load they put on these cars, you're going to see that change. So we'll see if Bruce maybe has a long run setup. But he has the Nova Nordisk Chevy chasing after him as we speak. Looking on the chase cam for Mark as he is running in 6th place, looking very solid so far as he is trying to chase down Cat Guy in 5th. Cat Guy's got to realize as he sits 3rd in points, the chance he has right now. He's right behind Taijo, and they are 2 points apart in the standings. And with McToasty having his problems, this gives him a prime opportunity to move up. Meanwhile, it looks like we have Remy back in the pits here on lap 11 already. He's a few laps down, so bad luck here in this race for S2N Remy. That podium finish, 2nd place run at Long Beach being the highlight of his season so far, and it doesn't look like he's going to add to that today, but still some points to pick up, and I'm sure we'll see him back out there. As you can see, Destroyer still up there fixing that car. They are having a tough time with that one. There's your defending series champion Cat Guy running in 5th place, qualified 6th, I believe, and always a mid-pack to front, third, fourth row type qualifier. But the 4-win season last season, he was just on the mark all season long, was very consistent, stayed out of trouble, qualified well. This season hasn't been quite as easy going for him, but he has maintained consistency. He's been on the podium twice, and he's looking to add to that. And right now, he's trying to put a little bit of a gap on Mark and solidify his 5th place position and chase down Taijo. As I said, Taijo just 2 points ahead of him in the standings, so that position for 4th is a big swing here at this point. But we're still early, just 10.5 minutes in here at Watkins Glen. Looking for some battles for position. We'll get to those. It looks like Muttley's going to have Taijo on his tail. Let's get on board in the cockpit of the Dallara Honda of Taijo. Taijo, as I said, sitting 2nd in the points, a de facto leader, but still looking for that first IndyCar win. They're lapping in the 56s right now, a little bit behind where Bruce did on that last lap. We'll keep an eye on that so far. But as he comes to, you see the little burp right there through the carousel. That is very much a smart move. A lot of guys will overdrive it, spin the car there. Can definitely cause you a series of problems. Looks like Destroyer's still in the pits getting repaired. We'll have to check in on that as we go by here. Oh, he's finally rolling out, so we're glad to see him moving. Meanwhile, back on board with Taijo. How much? Ran a 55.8, so he gained 0.6 of a second that time on Muttley as they are trying to move by the lapped car of Destroyer, who I don't know if he saw. Is that Destroyer? I believe so. Nope. Not Remy. Okay, Ed Yeager, he gets out of the way, and Taijo will resume his hunt. Meanwhile, how about it for Muttley? Longtime veteran, going back to previous sanctioning bodies before Flux, knows these Indy cars inside and out. He has won in these cars before in other sanctioning, other organizations, mainly as an oval track racer. Muttley is a grinder, though. He is the type of guy that will race you equally hard for a win as he will if he's racing you for 12th place. And right now, he is having his best drive of the season. Muttley, as I said, came in today 5th place in the points, just through top 5 finishes and consistency. He has not been on the podium this season, so to be running up here in 3rd place is a very, very good run for him. 16 seconds back, lapping a little bit off the leader's pace, but right now looking very, very solid. But he has got Taijo chasing him down for that 4th place spot. But drive of the season so far for Muttley. Let's see if he can keep it together. We're just 14 laps, 13 minutes in. With a 45-minute race, 55-second laps, I'm anticipating, you said, somewhere in the range, 45, 46, 47 laps, somewhere in that range. Maybe a little more than that even, maybe 47, 48 laps on this short 2.5-mile lightning quick circuit. We'll get back to this momentarily. Meanwhile, back up front, running with a clear track is Bruce Law. I believe he's had to deal, has led from the start of the race, from the pole, all 14 laps so far. I believe he had to deal with a little bit of lap traffic, but meanwhile, Hainsdad trying to get back on it, now 10 seconds back. We'll check their lap times respectively here as they get to the line. But right now, Bruce doing exactly what he did last week at Road America. Win the pole, get out to a good jump, save your push to pass. He's only used one. And just drive a smooth race and wait to see what happens. Take the traffic easy, wait to see if anybody comes up on you, and then you'll be ready to race them. McToasty had a car for him, but McToasty had to push real hard to get to him, and Bruce had quite a bit left at the end of the race last weekend, and that was the key to picking up his first win of the season at Road America. So right now, he's doing very much the same thing, and with a 2.5-second buffer on that last lap, he is opening up that lead now on Hainsdad. Meanwhile, back here in the battle for 3rd place, Taijo is now moving up on Muttley. He is just out of the frame, as you can see him right there. They're coming up on some lap cars. Not sure if that's Destroyer or Cracked Piston. Let's take a look. No, I believe it is Cracked Piston. We'll see. He's getting the blue flags now. Unfortunately, 15 minutes in, we've got Mark C hitting the pits, and I would say maybe a scheduled pit stop, but unfortunately not. having his best drive of the season. He was as far up as fourth, maybe even third, and unfortunately he's missing a wing and is coming in to make a damage repair 15 minutes in. So that's a tough break for Mark. We call him Hard Luck Mark here in the IndyCar Championship, and that is why. He was doing very well at that point, but he's going to have to get in there and make some repairs and try to get back on it. At the moment, we still have 6 cars running on the lead lap, but we're waiting on pit stops for fuel from just about everybody, I would think. Everybody who pitted really early, not going to have enough to go the distance. So we'll see how it plays out. But Muttley definitely having his drive of the season. And Cat Guy moving in as well. He picked up a second on Taijo right there. Let's get on board here with Cat Guy. He picked up a second on Taijo there as well. There's a lap car still between them, but he's moving up, as that's going to turn into an interesting battle. I think this is one of those situations, we spoke about it in last night's race, and we spoke about it a little last week. This is a situation where Taijo's got to be thinking, he can see himself being caught from behind little by Cat Guy maybe. And so the idea here has to be, maybe I need to get by Muttley before Cat Guy gets here, because if Cat Guy gets there and he got pressure from behind, making that pass becomes that much harder. So I really believe that is going to force Taijo to want to make the move before Cat Guy can get closer. At the moment, he's still got a decent 3-second buffer, however, so I think he's going to just keep running his race. Mad Dog back in the pits, unfortunately, in the DHL car. That might be a stop for fuel. That might be a scheduled pit stop. He was in earlier, banging out some damage, and is about to go 2 laps down. But this might not be too bad. He might be able to get the car serviced, get whatever little bit of repairs he needs, and yeah, I believe that might be a scheduled stop. He might be making that stop, coming out and running to the finish. So we'll see if the early pit stop gives him some type of strategy to work with. I personally like that call. Because it's going to put you in. Get on, Mad Dog here. I personally like that call because it's going to give you some laps on fresh tires against guys who are on worn tires. You might chew up some time against the guys ahead of you if you can maintain the tires for the full length you got to go. He's going to have to go 28 minutes or about 28-30 laps on those tires. So we'll see if that makes a difference. Joey pointing out here, Cat Guy and Taijo running well, and tires are going to rear their ugly head. That is definitely the case. As of right now, you're starting to see it. Haynes' dad falling off a little. That time he got it back up to 55.9. Muttley with a 56.1, Taijo 55.9 as well. But Bruce Law continuing to pace the field, 55.2. He's now got a 15-second lead, and he's just controlling this race at the moment. Meanwhile, Taijo in fourth. He is looking to make that move on Muttley. He is there now. And so the battle for third will continue. You know, he wants to make that move, but he cannot take too big of a risk. And Muttley can make the rear wing of that car pretty wide, as we got cars following the blue flags. And we've got somebody out. Looks like Haynes' dad backed it off. Haynes' dad backed it off big time. Something is wrong for Haynes. He was running up in second. And I can't tell, correct me if I'm wrong, viewers, but it looks like that chassis is, he's not crab walking it, but that chassis looks askew to me. That chassis definitely looks askew, and he is going to be hitting the pit lanes. And while that may be in the window for a scheduled pit stop, that is going to be a long pit stop. He is going to have to repair that car, and that is going to be a tough break for Haynes' dad. Meanwhile, let's get back to what is now the battle for second place, as Muttley has cycled up to second. Let's get on the chase cam here of Taijo in third. Muttley now running in second and desperately trying to hang on to those tires, I'm sure, as he has a scheduled pit stop coming up. But tough luck for Haynes' dad. As you see, you watch these races, I talked about it during earlier in the broadcast. You see a lot of rubber banding. Ooh, as Muttley gets into a lap car there, just barely does a little wheel slap on it. Not sure who that was. See if I can figure it out. It was Ed Yeager. And meanwhile, as we get back on Taijo, looks like Destroyer has disconnected, so a blown motor. Very tough first outing for Destroyer. Qualified 4th in his debut race, managed to run it up to 2nd, suffered some severe damage, went a few laps down, and now has disconnected. Let's hope it's a blown motor and not a blown fuse, because we'd much rather see the professionalism of the driver driving it out and finishing the race, even when things aren't going their way. Nonetheless, he acquitted himself well out on the track while he was out there, and we'll look forward to seeing him in the future here in the Flux IndyCar Championship. Meanwhile, back on the drone cam footage as Taijo still trying to chase down Muttley. Bruce Law, meanwhile, just taking off into the distance. And Cat Guy trying to hang with them, but these guys have quite a bit of a gap. Up to 30 seconds past Cat Guy on to Survivor in 5th place. And Taijo, as Joey pointing out from in the booth, definitely showing tire wear. You can see that car bucking around a little bit on him. And I think he and Muttley are probably eyeballing each other now as to what the other one's going to do. Yeah, he's definitely bucking that car around a little bit and fighting it. Honda versus Chevy right here. Both these guys looking for their first win in the series, but they're going to need something to happen to Bruce Law to make that happen. They're not lapping terribly slower than him. At the moment, Taijo still has all 10 of his push-to-passes, didn't use any of them. Muttley hasn't used any either. That, to me, is a bit of a surprise that these guys are holding it for the end of the race. And it looks like Muttley's going to hit the pit lane here on lap 24, right about the midway mark. Let's hope he didn't pick up a speeding penalty. Muttley's known for doing that from time to time, but he pulls that number 22 Menard Chevy in from 2nd place, and we'll have to see how the pit stops sort out. Who makes the better pit stop? Who's better on the in-lap and the out-lap? Who gains the advantage? This was the situation where legends like Paul Tracy were known for being terrific, taking advantage on the pit stops, gaining time. I don't know, I'd call it, Joey saying Muttley flinches first. I don't know if it's flinching as much as I would say that perhaps what Muttley's doing is trying to make the short pit, trying to get a few laps on fresher tires and gain time, but it looks like he might have picked up a penalty, and he did, unfortunately. Coming down the pit lane, having his drive of the season, Muttley has picked up a 10-second penalty from the race marshals for speeding on the entry to pit lane, and that is going to devastate him. He was running all the way up in 2nd place with a shot at his first podium for the season. He still has a shot at that podium, but right now, that is just devastating, losing those 10 seconds. Cat Guy, meanwhile, he's hitting the pit lane. I think these guys going for the midway run. Taijo's probably going to try to stretch it, maybe make a shorter pit stop, but I don't know how much you can do that in the Indy cars. They put the tires on simultaneously with the fuel. So we'll see if Muttley and Cat Guy can gain something on Taijo here on the cycle of pit stops. But Muttley definitely losing ground. He loses 10 seconds there with that penalty. Unfortunate there by Muttley. He comes out in 3rd. Cat Guy's got that car rolling. All right, we've got our leader in, Bruce Law, and Taijo hitting the pit lane as well. So the top 2 cars coming in, and it looks like everybody will be making their stop. Survivor, the last one on the lead lap that I believe I haven't seen in the pit lane yet. Bruce Law's made his stop, and he's on his way out. Let's see if anybody else has any problems with the marshals on the pit lane. Taijo making his stop. There's him with the arrow. There's Cat Guy coming. Let's see. Muttley still got out in front of Cat Guy, but I don't believe Cat Guy got a penalty. So wondering what that's all about. Well, Muttley's penalty will be applied at the end of the race, of course. My mistake there, folks. Taijo comes out, up and rolling 17 seconds. He gained, even without that penalty, 5 seconds on Muttley on the cycle of pit stops. So Muttley had a slow pit stop, obviously, and Taijo had a quick one, and the result is he has opened up that lead. It's 4 seconds on, 3.5 seconds on the track, but that's more than 13 seconds, including the penalty. He's got about 8 seconds on Cat Guy, And that might be more important because Cat Guy, as we said, right behind him in the championship, just 2 points back. Whichever one of those two finish higher this week, in this race, it appears will take the points lead into Laguna Seca next week. Now's a good time to discuss that, by the way, as Flux will continue with week 6. Tuesday and Thursday will be on the Flux European Tour side. We've got the touring car, Flux Motorsports Touring Car Championship Tuesday night, 8 p.m. UK, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That will be Tuesday. Thursday will be the GT1 Championship at the same times, 8 p.m. UK, 1 a.m. or I'm sorry, 3 p.m. North American Time, Eastern Standard. And then, of course, next week, the American Tour, Friday and Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. in the UK, will be at the legendary Laguna Seca circuit in Monterey, California, as the championship coming down, the infamous corkscrew. The infamous corkscrew will be in full effect. So that cycle of pit stops, Taijo gained 5 or 6 seconds on both Muttley and Cat Guy. Not sure how he did that. More than likely just a better entrance to the pit lane and a better outlap. But he has now put himself in an excellent position. And those are the last 4 cars on the lead lap right now. As Taijo working his way through traffic, and that might cost him a little time. But I think he will be patient. He's right where he needs to be in terms of the championship right now. Meanwhile, Bruce Law, as we said, out front. Give a little rundown through the field, give these guys some props. We've been talking about that top 4 on the lead lap. Looking into 5th here. Survivor running in 5th, and I believe that might be, is that Taijo behind him? Yes, it is. That's Taijo right behind him, looking to put him a lap down, but just another consistent run here for Survivor. He's a lap down, but he's running in 5th place. He's kept that car off the wall. He lets the lead lap car by, but just another consistent run. Came in here 6th in the points. He looks like he will be able to move up a little with this if he can maintain it. Just another steady, consistent top 5 run from Survivor, and he's become known for that, taking what he can get out of the car. And right now, he's just running steady, looking to pile up some points. I don't know if those guys behind him, Cracked Piston or Haynes' dad, have any chance to catch up. But we'll get a little look at that. Cracked Piston making his Flux IndyCar debut tonight. He made his Flux Motorsport competition debut overalls. We got a couple of cars hitting pit lane. That's S2N Remy several laps down and Mad Dog several laps down. Meanwhile, back to Cracked Piston, made his debut in the ASC last night and acquitting himself well. He qualified 10th here today. He went into the pits fairly early to repair damage, so I don't know if, looks like he has enough fuel to go the distance. But currently running in 6th place. He's got a bit of a gap between the car in front and behind him, but I think a 6th place run in his very first Flux IndyCar start, I think the Gold Coast Australia driver would take that. He has been very, very consistent here since he came out after that early schmozzle, as David Hobbs would call it, and currently sits in 6th place. Haynes' dad hitting the pit lane again. We'll get back to him. Mark C, meanwhile, running as far up as 3rd, 4th place earlier in the race, but hard luck Mark had to come in for repairs. He's now 2 laps down in 7th and does have a bit of a race 4 position. McToasty is running about 8 seconds behind him right now, so that definitely could be, well, most likely, if McToasty keeps on the pace that it's showing right there, could very much become a position of contest here later on. McToasty running back in 8th, came in 4th in the points. Really needed a big finish here today to put himself well up in the championship hunt going into the final 2 rounds. But that spin in the bus stop early on from 2nd place, I believe it was, or 3rd place, really going to cost him. Back in 8th, he's got a shot, as you see. He's moving in on Mark. I don't know if without some help he could get any farther up than that, so he is definitely going to lose ground to the guys ahead of him in the championship. Haynes' dad, meanwhile, he's back out in the 83 car. He was also running terrifically early in the race, as high as 2nd. He was your winner earlier this season in round 2 at Willow Springs. Has shown some pace. He's gotten back out, but really has not been able to make much ground, currently running in 9th place. Mad Dog in the DHL Honda back in 10th. And we've got the veterans Ed Yeager and Remy. More repairs in the pits. Those guys up to about 7 laps down now, as it has not been their day at Watkins Glen. Tyjo lapping quicker than Bruce, as Joey's pointing out from down in the pit lane, but as I said before, I think as much of that, oh no. And we have lost Cat Guy. Cat Guy has blown his motor here with 13.5 minutes to go on lap 33, running in 3rd place on the track. And that is going to be devastating for Cat Guy in his championship hopes. He came in here just 2 points behind Tyjo in the championship, and that is going to be a major story. Unfortunately, the mechanical bug biting the defending Flux IndyCar champion OGR Cat Guy, and he is out. So we are down to 11 cars remaining out of the 13 starters. He joins the Destroyer down back in the garage area. Let's see if Cat Guy joins us in the booth, and we'll try to get word on what happened to him. Unbelievable. As I said, it swings wildly here in Flux Motorsport, and with Cat Guy off the track, that is definitely going to switch things around quite a bit. 3 cars still on the lead lap, but Bruce Law is pacing them. I believe Bruce is just cruising. He's got 9 push to pass. Tyjo's also got 9. He's finally used 1. Muttley, I believe, is on him right now. He's yeah, I believe that's the lights off. I believe he's going. Muttley is trying to push that thing. Survivor's used 4. Cracked Piston has used 8 of them. He has definitely been going with it. Mark has used some. McToasty's used 7 of them, trying to get himself back up and catch up and gain position. Haynes' dad has been employing them as well. So yeah, definitely seeing some guys employ them. But it hasn't made a difference for Bruce Law, looking to get his 2nd straight win, 2nd of the season, and what would be his 3rd career Flux IndyCar victory. As Joey pointed out, he was the 2021 Season 1 Flux LMP2 champion over on the European Tour. Very accomplished driver. We love it when he comes over here and races on the North American tracks on the American Tour. And he has just done what he does best. Come out here, run a very smooth race, very calculated race, and put himself in position for another victory. He's not really up for the championship, having been a part-time entry, but nonetheless, he's out here winning some hardware for the target team. And if he can hold on for 11 more minutes, then that hardware will in fact be added to his trophy case. Let's check in on Muttley. I don't see if he's picked up anything else. No, still that 10-second penalty. Right now, that is not going to be affecting where he's at. He's 19 seconds behind Tyjo and 45 seconds in front of Survivor, almost a full lap in front of Survivor for 4th place. So Muttley running in 3rd, going to try to hang on to it, and we got to give him a shout out here. Muttley, the longtime veteran Aussie driver, very proficient in these cars, particularly on the ovals. He's an excellent driver on the particularly on the big speedways, Indianapolis and Daytona. Hasn't had as much success on the road courses this season. He came in here this week 5th in the points on the season, but that is with a best finish of 4th. Hadn't been on the podium yet. I don't believe he was on the podium last season either, so this may be a shot at his first career Flux. That kind of race, Muttley has just been very consistent. He's lapping right there with the leaders for the most part. And I know he would be absolutely thrilled to get a podium finish here at Watkins Glen. The Australian's a long-time driver on the American Tour, even before it was under Flux sanctioning. He's very familiar with these tracks. Muttley, when it comes to running the North American style cars on the North American circuits, he might as well be a Yank. He's run these cars so much. The only place he knows better than these is Bathurst, probably. Starting to use those push-to-passes to try to make his way around lap traffic. Mad Dog back in the pits, unfortunately for him, but on his way back out. And these are the guys you got to give credit to, Remy and Ed Yeager. It has not been their day. They have been in the pits repeatedly. They are currently running at least 9 laps down, perhaps 10 laps down. Yet they are still out here looking to get every last bit of point they can. Remy and Ed, longtime veterans of the IndyCars, but much like Muttley, more suited to the speedway racing. Ed Yeager, an excellent speedway driver in the IndyCars. Joey pointing that out about Bathurst, absolutely. But yeah, not going to be their day for Remy and Ed, but these guys are accomplished drivers, and I believe they'll have a better day. McToasty moving in slowly on Mark. Let's take a look at Mark in 6th place and see how he's doing. Let's get in the cockpit of that preferred Chevrolet. We call him Hard Luck Mark because he has had some very tough finishes. He's been up in the top 3, top 5 several times over the past 2 seasons here in the IndyCar. Another one of the overseas drivers comes and races on the American Tour and does an excellent job, but he just seems to, whether by a fault of his or not, seems to find himself in tough situations. Today he was running all the way up in the front and up among the leaders when he banged the front wing off that car, banged that car up, and had to make repairs. He's now 2 laps down, but he is right back out and at it. And I think a 6th place run, if he could hold on to it, even 7th with what he's gone through, would be pretty solid. But he does have McToasty moving in on him with 7 minutes to go here. You can see where they're at. McToasty not far behind him. Mark 56.4, McToasty 55.7, so he is definitely chopping up that gap. And so it looks like there is going to be a battle for 6th place sooner than later. McToasty with some real tough luck, as we said, lost it, running up in 3rd in the bus stop. He came in here needing a lot of points, and he's going to be kicking himself in the cockpit because with Cat Guy blowing his motor, he really could have put himself in a position to be firmly in the top 2 in the championship. As it is, he'll drop quite a bit of ground to Taijo here if they were to finish like this. And with Cat Guy losing all that ground, this is really going to put Taijo, if Taijo can maintain his 2nd place here, it's going to put Taijo well within the driver's seat for the IndyCar Championship. He will have a pretty decent size lead, not insurmountable by any means, but a pretty decent size lead going into the final 2 races, which will be at Laguna Seca and then on the Speedway at the Texas Motor Speedway to close out the season 2 weeks from tonight. He is starting to move in. We'll keep an eye on that, but up front it remains Bruce Law as he runs through the bus stop, just silky smooth, not a scratch on that car. Lapping in the 56, so you know 56 is upper 55s. You know he's likely just running the pace he has to run. Not getting as much airtime because he's not under duress, but you know that's how it works. Bruce has had a heck of a race again. As I said, he won from the pole last week at Road America, won last season at Laguna Seca, so this would be his 3rd Flux IndyCar Championship win. He was the LMP2 champion a season ago, and he is fantastic on these road and street circuits. a terrific ride at Long Beach as well until he ran into some problems. McToasty has gotten by Mark. I wonder if Mark had a bigger problem than that, but that has sent McToasty by him into 6th place. But really nowhere for him to go from here unless somebody has a problem. And with Cat Guy dropping out, how about it for Cracked Piston? Flux IndyCar debut, qualified in 10th, made an early pit stop to repair some damage. He's running 2 laps down, but he has gotten this car back underneath him and has driven this thing slowly but steadily through the field as other guys fell off, and he is in 5th place. So if he could finish, and he's got a comfortable cushion to McToasty behind him, so if he can keep it together, and if he has enough fuel to finish the race, that could be a key thing as well. We'll have to check, see if his fuel is enough to get him there, but if he was able to get a 5th place performance in his debut race, I think he would be absolutely thrilled with that. Looks like Mark is in the pit lane, and that looks like fuel. Mark was running out of fuel, so definitely wasn't much different, wasn't much far apart that Cracked Piston had to come in for his early repair. So you might see a few cars need to come in for a splash and dash here at the end. Might need a splash of fuel here at the end as Mark falls back to 8th with that pit stop. But Cracked Piston, let's see what he's got. If he can hang on over the last few laps, he could possibly end up with a top 5 in his debut. Taijo, meanwhile, still fighting that car. Looks like he's dealing with those tires. He's pretty comfortably where he is one way or another, so I don't think he has to risk it. I know he wants to get that first IndyCar win, but this is going to put him in a pretty decent position. He came in 2 points ahead of Cat Guy. A 30-point second place finish would put him up to 32 points ahead. He came in 27 ahead of McToasty. This would give him another 7, 8, 10 points or so off McToasty. So he would head into next week with a pretty decent sized lead. In other words, it would basically put the championship, allowing him to control his own destiny of a sort, because he's going to have to lose a lot of ground, or those guys have bad races over the last 2 races to really lose that lead. So this could be the race that really turns the tide in the championship this season. As we said, the points leader, It's Your Boy Squash, withdrawing his entry to the reserve list for the rest of the season. That takes him out of contention. Taijo here running in 2nd. Cat Guy is going to get a DNF here, and McToasty's back in 6th place, having to work on a hard-fought recovery drive. So this is going to give Taijo a decent-sized lead. Not enough to sit on his laurels by any means, but it's definitely going to give him enough. It'll make him also the only driver so far, I believe, with 3 podiums. Perhaps Bruce Law would join him there. I'll have to double check on that. But Taijo, as I said, he came in here this season with the Honda. He's driven smart all season. He developed the car. That's a very important thing to spend the time, know that some weeks it's not going to work, some tracks it's not going to suit you, and you have to come up with another setup. But he has done that all season. He has worked hard on that car, and it has paid off. Without a win, he has just been steadily on the podium and in the top 5, and he's going to take the points lead if he can stay where he is. Less than a minute to go now. I don't see any battles for position on the track, so let's get up here with Bruce Law. Let's get into the cockpit here with Bruce, as he is going to be taking the white flag here. This will be the final lap here at Watkins Glen. What can you say about Bruce? Won last week at Road America when he qualifies up that high on the pole and gets a clean start and doesn't have much pressure. He's very hard to catch. Hasn't had to use the push to pass. He's just been very, very smooth. And he's going to pick up, it appears, his 2nd Flux IndyCar win of the season and the 3rd of his Flux IndyCar career, adding to that trophy case. which is already fairly well stocked here at Flux Motorsport from the European Tour. But just another maestro performance from Bruce Law here at Watkins Glen. All right, so it looks like the Brit Bruce Law is coming around turn 10, getting ready to head into turn 11. Your winner of the Flux Motorsport 2021 Season 2 Round 6 at Watkins Glen is Bruce Law in the Target Chevy. A spectacular run, wins it from the pole. We'll check on the fastest lap bonus point here shortly. Definitely takes the bonus for the pole, but another spectacular drive. I don't see anybody having to dive in at this point for fuel like we had worried, but what we do have here is a race for position as McToasty get on the chase cam. No, they've already passed. Okay, that's why I missed it. Looks like they're settling in where they're at, so we're waiting for the final cars to come around here. Joey points out, flawless run from Bruce. Absolutely, just another terrific run, as we'll get on the trackside as he silently waves to the fans here at Thunder Road in upstate New York, Watkins Glen. But just another fantastic performance. All right, folks, so your final results from the 2021 Season 2 Flux Motorsport IndyCar Championship Round 6 at Watkins Glen. Your winner from the pole, Bruce Law, with a 54.700. That is, best lap is not going to give him the fastest lap bonus. It looks like the fastest lap bonus is going to go to the second place car, and that's going to be Tyjo. With Bruce Law, as I said, picking up his second straight win, adding to last week at Road America, second of the season, third overall in his Flux IndyCar career. Just another brilliant drive out of Bruce. Coming in second will be Tyjo, top finishing Honda, and he will take the points lead with that finish, as well as add a bonus point of 54.039 for the fastest lap of the race. A great run from Tyjo. Qualified fifth, I believe. Yes, qualified fifth. Stayed out of the early trouble, ran another spectacular race, and comes home in second. And joining them on the podium with what I believe is his first career Flux IndyCar podium, he's going to make a move in the points. The Aussie Muttley takes the 10-second penalty on the pit lane, but just a terrific run for him. He had a very quick car today as well, ran in the 55s very consistently, and I know Muttley's going to be over the moon as he will share in that spray of champagne on an international podium. Survivor brings home the Doom number 7 Honda in fourth place. A terrific run from him. Did not have quite the pace of the front runners, but just with a grinded out effort brings home another top 5 finish. So kudos to Survivor. And perhaps dark horse drive of the race goes to Cracked Piston in his debut in the Flux IndyCar Championship. Qualified 10th. He took some early damage, minor damage, got in, got the car fixed, and just kept lapping consistently. You can see by that lap 56.7 right there in the back half of the field for fastest laps, but he was very consistent, kept it out of trouble, and to finish in the top 5 in his Flux IndyCar debut for the driver from the Gold Coast of Australia is fantastic. Congrats there to Piston. Rounding out our order, McToasty with the tough luck run from the front row qualifying spot. He's going to make a recovery drive, get it up to 6th place. Haynes' dad will come home in 7th after running up front as well. Mark C., that late stop for fuel, drops him down to 8th. Mad Dog's going to bring it home in 9th. Ed Yeager, a hard luck race at 12 laps down with the many pit stops he took. He'll finish in 10th. And S2N Remy rounds us out in 11th place. All right, so that's going to do it here for Flux TV. I'm your host, Carlin Hicks. We'll be seeing you next week, Tuesday and Thursday on the European Tour side. You'll be seeing me with the American Tour next week at Laguna Seca, Friday and Saturday night for the American Sports Car Championship and next week's IndyCar race. Once again, congratulations to Bruce Law and the Target team. A fantastic run to take the victory. Tyjo and Muttley join him on the podium. We will see you this week on Flux TV. Check us out, fluxmotorsport.com. Goodbye and good night.